General Manager of Economic Development and Culture for the City of Toronto, Canada, will be our next speaker.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm scared shitless, so I don't know about anybody else. I remember in the 1980s I did a big future study about what technology and all the trends that were going to happen and trying to predict what life would be like in the year 2000. And the whole topic of conversation was, what are we going to do with all our leisure time that would be there because all this technology would take care of everything. And of course, that was the exact opposite. I have far less time being tied to this than I ever had then. And now I am scared to do anything. I'm going to China in a week's time. I'm now going to have to spend about 2 hours time with the CIO just to make sure that I'm not going to ruin the whole system at the City of Toronto. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. You're going to hear from a number of us at the city. Each of us will be taking a different perspective. From my point of view, I'll dampen down anxiety and try to explain a couple of things around the leveraging of Smart City to make sure our economy grows as quickly as it can. That's sort of a bit of a boring shot. I also have in my title the culture, and so we will try to make it a little bit exciting, not as exciting as was just done. Somewhere in between Ray and Tracy's discussion about the use cases and then what happens when the misuse takes over. So from my point of view, there are three basic pillars on which we talk about what Smart City can do for us. One is making sure the city's operations are as digitally advanced as possible to make sure that people are connected within the city and with all the services that they're delivering. I'll talk a little bit about that, but our Chief Information Officer, Rob Meikle, our Chief Transformation Officer, Michael Combe, and the Mayor's appointee for advancing innovation on Council, Councillor Holland, will also talk a lot more about that. So I won't focus on that as much as possible. But I will say that unless the City of Toronto is doing our job as efficiently, effectively, and as impactfully as we can, then our economy is not going to be as fine-tuned as possible. So it's an important element for it. The second one is to make sure that we have a digital infrastructure that allows us to connect properly, whether it's by dark fiber, lit fiber, broadband broadcast, all those different technologies with 5G coming. And then the third element is what's our ecosystem from the point of view of making sure that the whole economy is connected in a lot of ways. Mark and Tracy talked about that. So what about the City of Toronto's operations? Can I get the slides so that other people can watch it other than just me? There, thank you. So from an operational perspective, we can make it pretty comprehensive and put it into three different areas, whether in our economic world, which is planning, or employment, which is part of my world, or business and tourism, the social well-being and making sure that everybody gets the services as quickly and as efficiently as possible, making sure you can book your kids' course or day program at Parks and Rec, and then of course how our water, roads, lights, everything work. There's been a number of chatter this morning already about the sort of arc of technology and what's coming. I started way before all of this was there. Maybe 20 years ago, 25 years ago, mobility started to become more omnipresent, but it's only been that long since that happened. And then the cloud, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We'll talk a little bit about Smart City, obviously, today and tomorrow. And then who knows what will come next if we get past the Armageddon. So the city is in many ways already smart, and on that arc of technologies, you can find examples here. So we have smart water meters and a lot of those sort of things. We have city benefits cards now that are loaded automatically, and you don't need to wait for your check on a monthly or bi-weekly basis. We've even done a blockchain test in terms of licensing. And a lot of this is now being driven by the Chief Information Officer, but 3 special positions that were just started last year: Chief Transformation Officer, the Civic Innovation Office, and the Chief Resiliency Officer. And then later this week, we will announce Civic Hall Toronto, which will be a place for business and government to incubate new developments. So if you bunch a lot of these things into 3 different buckets, first of all, making sure that city divisions adopt new technologies. It's not the easiest thing in the world. Part of my job is to manage connections with all the businesses in Toronto. And so when I joined 9 years ago, I said, what customer relationship management system are we using? Well, we're using 2, both ACT and Goldmine.